New World is kind of currently popping off. Okay, that's being a little bit dramatic, but there's a lot of people coming back to New World. I mean, right at this moment, we're over 10,000 people playing, and the population in July went up, and the population in August is continuing to go up. And really, the question is, why is this happening? And I actually think the answer is multifaceted. So what typically happens, by the way, as you can see here, we launch, and then when the summer comes around, or when there's a big update, you can't actually see this off the screen, but when summer comes around, we typically start dipping. And then when this summer last year, we dipped to like 3,200 average, by the way, with a max of 5,000. Then we have a big update in October, November, etc. And then in summer we dip. But actually, this year, the dip has not really been as significant. So last year we dipped really, really low, but this year the dip was kind of around about May, maybe early June, and now we're going up. We actually did peak a little bit in May because we had season 8. Now we just had season 9, and I think hype for season 10 is pretty good because season 10 is looking pretty juicy. But this is interesting to me because I think it also tells us about the sentiment of the game right now. I'm not feeling as much. I mean, I'm still feeling it a little bit when I stream it daily on Twitch, by the way. You should come and watch me on Twitch. But I'm not feeling the same kind of like negativity as I once did with New World. I'm feeling a little bit of positivity. Now, New World still seems to try and actually get rid of that sometimes. Season 9 was broken when it first launched. You couldn't do any instance content. Season 8, I think, was broken because it was crashing. They're now doing this weird thing with the Outpost Rush capture the flag queues. I mean, things aren't perfect, but I just think the sentiment of the game and the sentiment of the players around the game is slightly changing. Now, no, I don't think Season 10 is going to pop off and be the most amazing thing of all time, but I do think Season 10, whatever it is, be it a paid expansion, be it a free update, whatever it ends up being, is going to be pretty juicy. Well, let's try and answer the question first, why this player sentiment is actually changing. So those numbers that we just saw are literally purely PC. There's no PlayStation, no Xbox on there, but I do think this here is actually making a little bit of a difference. Effectively, it went on PlayStation Game Pass. Now, you might not know what I'm talking about because it's not actually called Game Pass, but the PlayStation equivalent of Xbox Game Pass. So it went free, and it absolutely isn't free, if you were a subscriber to PlayStation Plus Extra or Premium. Now, there's 3 tiers of that, by the way. There's Essential, which is just the online play, and then there's 2 tiers above it, both of which New World Eternum is now included, but it's like some set of games and then even more games. So it's not free, but if you pay for it, then you're already paying for it. It's kind of like if a show goes on Netflix. Is it free? Well, not really, because you have to pay for Netflix and you're already paying for Netflix. Now, that was very popular, actually. In fact, they mentioned in one of the dev videos that they were very pleased with that. And weirdly, I do think that impacted the play numbers. So I think what probably happened is some people were like, hey, my friend, if you actually have friends, which, you know, I don't. But let's say they were like, hey, I'm actually going to play New World because I'm getting it for free with the PlayStation Pass. You already played it a little bit. Do you want to come and play with me? And some people were like, yeah, let's do that. And I think it's just created kind of like a bit of hype around the game. Now, I'm not talking like, you know, we're not talking Elden Ring, massive hype, but just a little bit of interest around the game has been very good for the game. There's been new people starting, new people coming back. Well, returning players coming back, not new people coming back. That would be weird. And I think that has basically led to this. July, for example, was going up before Season 9 even occurred. And I do think there are sort of 2 more reasons beyond just the PlayStation Network thing. One of that is simply we've actually been getting the kind of content that a lot of players in New World have wanted for a long time. It's not on the roadmap here, but we had the new Outpost Rush map in Season 8 called Divide. And then we had a new PvP mode just recently in Season 9 with the Capture the Flag mode. Now, there's been some hiccups, the queue's a little bit awkward, but a lot of people have wanted stuff like that for a while, and we always said, hey, that's the kind of content to make. And now they've made that content and the players are coming back, kind of evidence that people wanted that. Now, I still think New World is sort of fundamentally flawed in terms of its gearing, progression, and all that kind of jazz, but they've actually been making content that a lot of people have wanted, and I think the player base is actually responding to that. It could also be, by the way, that when New World Eternum launched on console, there were quite a few new people on PC because they saw it as a good time to jump in as well, and maybe they're just not as fatigued as some of the other players, so they've not left as much, and they're coming back when there's actual content. That could be the thing. But I also smell a little bit of copium. Again, I'm not going to claim here that Season 10 is going to be the most amazing expansion that any game has ever launched. I do think Season 10 will probably be one of New World's best updates, and I think the hype around Season 10 is causing people to be interested in New World once again. We can see here that we are going to get a new zone, new raid, and the procedural expeditions, and then they're going to start fixing hopefully some of the fundamental issues that I think exist with the game, which is the endgame progression with the umbral system, set bonuses and stuff like that. Season 10 is sounding very, very juicy. There have been a few minor leaks as well. I'm not going to show you the art because it's a little bit dubious. I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but there's some artwork for for Dunwood, which we think is going to be the new zone, which will probably very likely be vampire and werewolves themed. And you can, I think, effectively see that in the image behind the text here. I'm not going into a lot of details here, but it's in the New World data mining. I kind of like leaked it a little bit, but we think that's going to be an outpost rush map that's looking very vertical. There's talk about catacombs, Burla, or I keep calling it Balia because it's funny. Werbies, I don't know how you say that, up your backside. I don't actually know. Up here is apparently an Eastern European term for vampire. Some information about daggers, although we don't think the weapons next. There's a name for them, might be the lighthouse. There's apparently something in Elysian Wilds. There's apparently information about new mount types being fox and grunts. You know what? Season 10 sounding very juicy indeed. And not just season 10 actually, like the beyond bit, which we think is going to come shortly after season 10, also sounding really good. The new weapon may actually be daggers. The new PvP mode we think is probably going to be a battle royale. I'm not sure that'll work in New World, not sure it fits in an MMO, but yeah, interesting. I don't know. It's hard to explain. I'm not... this will be a weird thing to say. I kind of feel like New World could, given the right circumstances, now pop off. I think if a lot of people got bored with their MMO, like imagine if all the streamers who like left old school RuneScape or they left WoW to play old school RuneScape, if they would have picked New World could have had a moment, right? Now, I think that's unlikely, but I'm just getting, I don't know, it's hard to explain. I'm just getting the vibe that people are a little bit more comfortable with what New World is. People are a little bit more satisfied with what New World's doing. And whilst I don't see Season 10 being the greatest thing since sliced bread, I do see it being a very decently made update, whether it be free, paid, or what have you. And I think a lot of people will be impressed. Now, whether or not it'll have the longevity, whether or not it'll actually start satisfying some of that wasted potential we think New World has, well, it'll probably actually end up coming down to the endgame progression system overhaul. That's one of New World's fundamental flaws, and if they can fix that, and there's actually a reason to play the game, and you want to do content, and you want to do XYZ, and it's not the same raid on repeat a trillion times, anything could happen. I'm personally expecting Season 10 to be pretty decent. There is an underlying question here, which I'm not going to linger on too much, and that is, how much is this to Katie? I think her name's Katie Kasijnik. Apologies if I said that wrong. But we know Scott Lane is no longer on New World. The theory is that he's moved to Lord of the Rings. How much of this positive vibe is because of Katie? Well, I don't really know that because I don't really know who made what content and what the reason for the player base going up exactly is. But maybe things have changed a little bit. Or maybe it's just luck. I don't know. Either way, yeah, I'm really looking forward to Season 10. The view numbers on Twitch and stuff like that are pretty damn good. Again, come and watch me on Twitch. I'm like super entertaining, I swear. I'm maybe a little bit entertaining. I may entertain you very briefly for a moment in time, maybe once. But come and find out, hit the follow button. But yeah, I think Season 10 is going to be good. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to see what we get. We are only going to get information about Season 10 in September, which I think is a little bit late, but better late than never. And yeah, exciting times. Have a most beautiful day. Like and subscribe. Goodbye.